So here we're going to get ready to run our mass spec. You'll notice that the instrument for mass spec has a lot of similarities to the GC that we saw in a previous video. In fact, the instrument on the piece on the right is the exact same gas chromatograph that we saw previously. And if we open this up, once again we'll find our columns inside the oven. And if we were to use our back inlet on this instrument, we could do exactly the same thing that we did on our other GC. But if you look carefully in here, and hopefully you can see this on the video, there's a tube running from the GC into this instrument on the right, on the left rather. The instrument on the left is our mass spectrometer. And so what happens is a sample that we make up is separated with GC the same way we would with the GC, and then those samples go into the mass spectrometer so that we can measure their mass. So I've already made up our sample, and with mass spec you have to be a little bit more careful than with GC. Recall with GC we just put the liquid in exactly the way it was. For the mass spec it needs to be diluted, and we don't have to be exact about that, but we want it somewhere in the range of 10 to 25 parts per million. And so that's what I've done with one of our samples, and I've placed it in slot number 1. But I could literally put it in any position, so let's put it somewhere else. And now it's in slot 115. And now, as long as when I'm setting up my sample that I identify that position correctly, the computer will know exactly where to go in the auto sampler to get it. So all I have to do is start it, and just like with the other instrument, it's going to heat everything up to the proper temperature, and we'll execute the sample once it's ready to go. But there's nothing different about how that's going to take place. It's going to do the same washings with acetone and inject our sample into the mass spec.